וזכני לגדי בונים ובני בונים בונים חכמים ונבונים אויבי השם יראי אלוקים אנשי אמס נוי זרע קוידש וזכני אוי לגדי בונים ובני בונים בונים חכמים ונבונים אויבי השם יראי אלוקים אנשי אמס נוי זרע קוידש בשם דבקים ומאירים מסוינו נוי בתוירה ובמעשים טובים נוי ובכל מלאכת עבודת עבודה לא שמע תחיינו אויבי השם יראי אלוקים אנשי אמס נוי זרע קוידש אוי לגדי בונים ובני בונים בונים חכמים ונבונים אויבי השם יראי אלוקים אנשי אמס נוי זרע קוידש בשם דבקים ומאירים מסוינו.
Welcome everybody to Simcha. On behalf of Ami and the whole Mishpacha, I have to thank everybody, the Mechutanim, the friends, the whole Mishpacha for coming to share this beautiful Simcha, Ash's Bar Mitzvah. Big Mazel Tov to Bobba and Zayda Greenberg, Bobba Litka, Teres the Kain B'nei Bonim, first Bonim Avoisam. Simcha wouldn't be complete without grandparents, and we wish you they should only have nachas from Ashi and from all your Einiklech and Oreniklech, should only have simchas. The Simcha of Bar Mitzvah, the Bar Mitzvah is a time when a person becomes a gadol, becomes chai of mitzvahs, becomes a bar oinshim. So what exactly is that to celebrate? Why is it such a happy time, such a time of simcha, rejoicing? We get together, make a suda, so it's mitzvah. A person becomes chai with a lot more chiyuvim, becomes bar oinshim. What's the simcha? So I want to share with you a thought that I had. Because I'll say, in the parsha we just read, by Avraham Avinu, it says that Hashem was Hashem was appeared to Avraham Avinu, and to before that there was no special nevuah, it was just a giluy shchina. What came to be with Avraham Avinu, and in the middle he goes to Bimachas Orchim, and Chazal say we see from here that Gadol Achnas Orchim Yoytz Mikabala Fnei Shchina. Gadol means says Yeruchim. Gadol means that it's a bigger kinyan for the nefesh, for the neshama. Person gains more. Person becomes bigger and greater from such a ma'aser. The pshat is that when a person is mekabel pnei shchina, so he's sitting in the presence of the shchina. So what could be more than that? The pshat is that when a person's machnis orchim, and a person is doing chesed, so then he's being dovek in the shchina itself. He's being like he's being like HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He's not just being mekabel the shchina. He's being like the shchina. He's being like Hashem himself. He's being dovek in the midst of HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. And that's why it's a bigger kinyan, it's a bigger mile for the person. The person gets more from being like HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself, from doing the mitzvahs of Hashem himself than just being mekabel pnei shchina. Pasuk says in Parashat Bereishis, "Zeh sefer toldos ha'adam." Different pshatim in the Rishonim what it means, but the Ramban says that Zeh sefer toldos ha'adam referring to the ganze Torah. The whole Torah is referred to as the sefer toldos ha'adam. So I heard a pshat from a Hashvi in Yerushalayim. He explained what does it mean. Why is the whole Torah sefer toldos ha'adam? So the pshat is that if a person wants to know what is a mensch, what is a adam, what can a person be, what's toldos ha'adam, how do you define a person? Looking at in the Torah, the whole Torah, every single chelik of the Torah teaches us and shows us what is a person. We learn the parasha of Bereishis. We see the chesed of the avos, the maisim of the avos. These are things that we can do. These are things that we can be. All the mitzvahs, the mitzvah of tefillin and mashal, that shows us that a person can be someone who's mekushet HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chol ritzonos. Every mitzvah, every chelik of the Torah, every aspect of the Torah is the sefer toldos ha'adam. It's something that's there for us to live with, and that tells us what is a mensch, how big and how great a person can become. And the simcha of Bar Mitzvah is that it's a simcha of opportunity of being nichas the old Torah mitzvahs, and now we have the schusim, now we have the opportunity to become a big person, to become a mensch, become a great big yid. And there's so many there's so many opportunities, and every mitzvah and everything a person can do, that's all adds to his yecholos to grow to be a great man. And that starts today. That starts in the Bar Mitzvah. That's the day when we nichas to this all of Torah mitzvahs. And that's the simcha. That's the simcha of Bar Mitzvah boy. And that's what Chazal are teaching us. By Avraham Avinu was mekabel pnei shchina, and he went to do the mitzvah of chesed, because to live like a yid, to live a Torah, that's much bigger. That gives much more to a person. That is the kind of Rafa, somebody who lived this way. Everything he did was a living chesed, and that's the biggest mile for a person, much more than kabbalas pnei shchina. Like we all know, Ashi broke her Davoin, and Ashi's for sure the Kal Chaimer broke her Davoin. Yeah, everybody knows Ashi's the mini daddy in the family, and he has in him all these milas of mitzvahs tovos from daddy, of chesed, and we've seen it till now. And Mitzvah Hashem is going to go weiter, and it's not only by him, Cheski, Yitzi, all the boys. They have the qualities of daddy, and I'm sure from Gan Eden he's looking down and he's having nachas from Ashi already, and I'm sure he will have continued nachas. So I'd like to call upon Ashi to share with us his mitzvah Ashi.
The Medrash Tanchum in this week's Pasha says about Sarah reading the following parcel. Darshan Temple Frishtim and explains when Yitzchak v'Yishmael Shalom Gosh Yisrael Hazois ve'es B'no. The Mepharshim tell us that the Is of Shatnus to keep apart one another signifies the separation between good and evil. So Sarah Meinu Darshan Temple Frishtim she learned from the Is of Shatnus to keep Yishmael apart from Yitzchak. To better understand the idea of sending Yishmael away, let's examine well what is the aside of the Issa Shatnus. The Gemara in Avodah Zarah Daf Samachet on the base brings down a brisa about beged shenever by kilayim. This is a garment of linen in which a single woolen thread was put on it, and its whereabouts became forgotten and therefore impossible to remove. Because of that single lost thread, the whole beged becomes asa and can't be used. Tosus then of the Zohar and other places asks a famous question. Why does that single thread of wool not become butter broth to the linen beged, thus not being shatnez at all? Just as when a piece of tray from meat falls into a pot of kosher food and gets lost there, the din is that the tray from meat is pot of broth and the food is mutter to eat, being a tiny minority among a big pot. So here too, the small thread should become butter. Tosus answer that butter broth applies only when the meat is issa and the rov is heter, so the minute davar also becomes butter within the mixture. But here, Tosus explains, Kolik when ein hoisun el alidei erev sheharei shenehem heter. Here there is nothing also about the wool and thread alone, and also the linen. It is the mixture of the two which makes the issa. The kaf also erev below botli. Because it is the mixture itself that makes the problem. Such a mixture will not produce a bit of broth to be mattered. One can understand this answer like the Chassam Sufi explains that the idea of bitterness because among a larger mixture, the davar also becomes insignificant and therefore loses chashivas altogether. But here it is the opposite. By itself the wool and thread is nothing special, it is the mixture is put into that gives it the whole importance. So such a mixture will not produce a bitter at all, since the taruv does not make any insignificance at all. Therefore, Tosus says, the whole issa is a product of the mixture, and the kaf also irvin below botli. Such a mixture won't make the meat lose chashivas and remains also. However, the Rosh Mesachas Nidar, when answering the question, also points out like Tosus, that is the taruv voice which produces the issa. It finishes to say that therefore, the ein kan el chaticha achas shel issa. In other words, because there is no issa and heter, only that the whole mixture produces one big issa, there is no rov against the meal because they both make the issa together. A simple understanding of this rosh would be that normally there is a majority of heter which is mevatel the issa. But here there is no room for bitter at all because everything is also. And this raises a bigger problem. What was the kash of Tosus in the first place? The actual fact that there really is a woolen thread within the beged of linen is sure without a doubt. That is clear that bitter broth cannot change a mitzias. So that given that there is a mixture of wool and linen here, the whole beged becomes also in one go. So where should we make a bitter broth? So even if one could suggest that is the teretz of the Rosh, so what would be his pattern in this first place? If we think deeper into the inyan, the kasha of Tosus is very clear. Although the physical mitzias of wool and linen is a fact, there won't be enough to make the issa of shatnez. When the Torah made the issa shatnez, that means that wool is no longer just a fabric like any other. Wool will now have halachic mitzias, which could be referred to as a din semen. If wool is put into a beged, this garment will now contain the halacha that it can't be put with pishton. The same as with linen, this din pishton is that it may not be with wool, and it will introduce to a beged the halacha of pishton. The way we end up with shatnez is when a beged contains both din semer with a din pishton, each one is also with the other and together can answer the beged. So here is where Tosus asked the question, when we have only one woolen thread within a large beged of linen, even though there's definitely a physical woolen linen here, at the end of the day the majority here is the din pishton. It is mainly a special fabric containing its personal halacha. There's only a tiny meter of thread coming to introduce to the beged a din semer. So we should use bit of rov to say that the din pishton should be mevatel the din semer. So now the woolen thread that is there with mitzias just remains a fabric like any other and won't produce an issa shatnez. Now if this is the question of the Rosh, we now must understand what was his answer. That it is not possible to use rov because ein kan el chaticha achas shel issa. What does he mean after we just explained that the pishton can be mevatel the din semer and we will never end up with a whole garment becoming shatnez? It is brought down that Rav Chaim suggested two possible ways to understand the nature of shatnez. On the first glance, what the Torah says is that semen is also to be with pishton, making one type and aren't with the other. If we have that clash, we have an issa shatnez. But Rav Chaim said that there is more to it. It's the mixture of one in itself that produces the issa, not that one is also with the other, only that the two together makes a chesed shel issa. The Torah is not saying that wool must not be with linen, rather a woolen garment is forbidden to wear. This means that there is no friction between wool against linen necessary to make it also. Rather, the joined in of tzemel fishtim yachtav that make the beggar the dova also. Therefore, when the whole beggar becomes also, it is not just because the wool became also of linen, it is because such a beggar in itself is something also being a wool linen mixture. Reb Chaim added that it is for this reason that there is no bittul when the woolen thread gets lost in the beggar of pishta, because the whole beggar is one chesed shel issa. This can be understood with how we've explained the question of Tosas, that although the woolen in the Bar Mitzvah, a dim pishton should be mevatel, it's opposing din semet. If this is clear, we can say that if the woolen and together make one davar asa, it comes out that there are no two opposing dinim, that one should be mevatel the other. Rather, they both produce one halacha of beged shatnus. So the Metzias of woolen is there, and together they create one halachic din of shatnus. And there is no longer any room for bitter barov to stop the issa. With this, we can explain the Rosh that he means that since both Sem and Pishtan are heter, and only together they make an issa, therefore, in kane lachaticha achas shel issa. Rosh doesn't simply mean that the whole beged ends up also in totality. Rather, the issa comes from the two together to make one chefsa shel issa. If we take on this new understanding of the issa shatnus, it comes out that the idea is not protecting the wool from linen or vice versa, only that the mixture of the two together is something the Torah doesn't want. Rav Yosef Enger writes in the Sefer Beis HaOtzer, the Medrash we quoted before, sounds like the idea is to protect the tzemah from the pishton, and not that the two together are the problem. The idea to separate the good from bad and to send Ishmael away from Yitzhak is to protect the good, and not that the actual mixture of good and bad are the problem. If we are right in the Rosh, this is not the exact understanding to the Issa of Shatnus. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank and express my akasa tov to all these people who have helped me reach this stage of my life. Firstly, I'd like to thank my Rebbes, all the activities and I'd like to give a warm welcome to Rabbi Brizak. And last but not least, I'd like to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for being born into such a special family and giving me parents who have cared and down for me all my tzlach and every day of my life. We only contribute so much nachas from me.
See